Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of the Backyard SportsCenter podcast. Today, I am joined again by Bobby. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Very excited about the prospects of my team. It was looking a little bleak 2 weeks ago, and it's still a little. There's a long way to go, but it's def. I definitely feel better than I did say 2 weeks ago.
And specifically, the match of the week that just aired. So that was amazing to commentate over and watch.
Yeah, I actually, I mean, I was out and about today, so I probably couldn't have really watched anyway. But I I kind of told myself I wasn't gonna watch, not because I'd be a sore loser about it or anything if I lost, but I don't know, I guess when somebody when I've already played my game and the other person it's their turn to play, I don't watch anyway, or I try not to. And in this situation, like in a match of the week format, like especially in a game like this that I really needed to make the playoffs or have any sort of chance to do so, I really just didn't want to watch it. I just wanted to you know, kind of get, I guess the results and just go from there.
Yeah, that is totally understandable. I know sometimes it can be really nerve-wracking watching somebody else put up a bunch of runs against your defense when you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It's more like that. When going into it, I was just like having all these mental gymnastics because I was like, well, I put up a plus 15, and I was thinking, I was basically, kind of like going over the sheet and looking at Crazy's best, or I mean, Crazy, I'm sorry, Question's best scores. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe if, so long as he keeps at average, then maybe I'll win. But then I was realizing, well, if he scores like 13, it's over for me because, multiplier and all that. So I was just like, well, it's going to be what it's going to be. Let's just hurry up and see. And thankfully, my boy, Gary Allen, he right now is like, I don't know. Like I just can't say enough about Gary Allen. Just and you're not. I don't think that the podcast or the people may not believe me, but as I was playing that game, I was literally like, with the bases loaded in that pivotal, with that pivotal home run that basically got me the win. I literally was like, I guess trying to manifest a grand slam, and it literally happened. And when it happened, I was like so hyped. Like, I wasn't yelling or anything, but I was like, "Whoa, let's go. Like, this is awesome." And it's funny how it just ended up being the homer that actually won me the game. It just really adds to the whole Gary Allen storyline of the Blue Angels season so far.
Yeah, I was really excited when I saw that and was commentating on it. Yeah, I think all Grand Slams should now be referred to as Gary Allen's for the rest of the season.
That I would appreciate that. But also before I get too I guess the word would be egocentric about things, I just want to say again, and I've told him, good game to Question Monkey, because he put up a good game. That's I always want to keep sportsmanship at the forefront of this. At the end of the day, and he gave me a tough game, and had that had that home run just been for whatever reason a pop up, we're having a totally different story here. So it was a 4-run game, but really it wasn't, in a way, a 4-run game, because he doesn't hit that and it's a simple pop up, and we're having a different conversation here.
Yeah, then we're having, oh no, it's a tiebreaker and it's bad luck Bobby all over again.
Basically, something finally went our way.
So yeah, it's a totally different ball game. literally, which is kind of crazy. I just like to see, that it was, your favorite player that did it. Because if it was like Conseco or Mondesi or something, it wouldn't have the same feel, you know?
And I mean, Gary Allen's no scrub. I mean, he's a power bat, but I mean, he was my all-star, for these past, he's been pretty. I'm starting to come around with other players on my team, notably Christina Beatty, albeit I know you all were referencing the in-game stats in the game, and those are actually incorrect because I had a issue with my file. But I had really been struggling with Beatty, but for whatever reason, I'm starting to figure it out with her. And I'm really just starting to figure it out with my lineup in general. I think I've really found something, or I've found ways to really generate offense, and I think that's important for the stretch run. I mean, as it is, really with the exception of that Bombers game where I just, for some reason thankfully that was my worst game of the season so far. But I've been steadily, I think, in my opinion anyway, improving, and if I just keep getting better, I think I have a chance in pretty much, I think every game moving forward.
Yeah, you definitely, it seems like you've been kind of steadily improving throughout the season. So it'll be interesting to see the other games that you have left on the schedule, how that kind of would apply. Now a lot of division games, and now this puts you in a tie with the Reds for second in the division.
Yeah, technically JY Wood has the tiebreaker because he's beaten me head to head. So I also like really cannot afford to lose any more. Well, I can't. If I want to make the playoffs, I basically have to win out. At worst, I can lose a game maybe, but yeah, I have to basically take these division games if I want any sort of chance.
Yeah, because right now, so you would be 2 games behind right now.
I'm 2 games behind you. I'm basically tied with JY, but he has the tiebreaker at the moment.
And I believe you still play one more game against.
And I play against Question actually, and it's funny because he can get his revenge on me, and potentially, if I'm in the running, he could knock me out of the playoffs. So that could be very interesting depending on where I'm at that point in the season.
Oh yeah, the rematch is the last week of the season too.
So yeah, he could very easily, if for whatever reason, somehow, some way, I'm like, let's say I'm 8-5 somehow, and or maybe 7-6, and I have a chance at the playoffs. He could end it. So
Yeah, definitely. Not out of it, but you got to play really well to be able to do it.
yeah, I've got to be essentially perfect. And I mean, I had that little spew in the chat where I didn't guarantee it because I don't like to guarantee or promise things. But I basically just kind of like made a fictional press conference and I said we're making the playoffs. More so just I guess to add to lore and stuff. But I mean, I think I don't want to say I'm better than my record says I am because I wouldn't have lost those games if was if that was the case. But I think I don't know. I just think the best is yet to come. Or I think I could get more out of this roster. Like even in I was looking back, even in this game against Question Monkey, I left a lot of, or it seems like I left runners on base. I think there's still a lot more room for improvement, and that's the good thing that things can only go up. So
Yeah, definitely a lot of things to build off of, especially for the last couple games.
yeah, and I was talking to Emery earlier, and interesting enough, the- I don't know. I mean, you're up 2 games, but this division could still be up for grabs because you have to go play him. Well, actually, no, he has to go to you. I think at Ekman. So that'll be an interesting game. If he beats you, all of a sudden I'm one game back, and then I have a head to head against you again. And I don't know if you have a game against JY again, or have you
I
played
have a
both of them?
game against all three of you.
Oh wow! So I mean, you see this division. I mean, a lot can happen. I mean, I think you, other than maybe the Royals, yeah, the Royals I think are the only other team that has a 2 game lead in, at least on the AL side of things. So yeah, the East is definitely, and honestly, even in theory, Question Monkey's not out of the division race if somebody, and even the wild card, because now that allegedly Visery's not playing the playoffs, it's basically become a second wild card. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see, but with 6 losses, as of right now,
He'd have to win out,
he'd have to win out, would be my
and even then,
guess.
that may not do it.
And also plays the Royals.
Oh boy.
So that's
Well, it depends, because I mean the Royals, they put up, they were in the beginning, they were like ridiculously good, and obviously they've only had one loss, so it's not like they're terrible, but they only put up 8 against the Devil Rays at home, I think. They beat you, the Braves, by only 4. I mean, they've kind of looked a little less like the Royals of the first 4 or 5 games.
that is true. They've kind of their scores haven't been
A lot of it might have to do with the fact that this
they've been they've been really really solid, but they haven't been like the oh my goodness, this is crazy. How did they score 49 runs or
I
whatever?
mean, when you put 48 runs on the defending champions, I mean, you get people's attention.
If you put 48 runs up against anybody, you have your people's attention.
Yeah, so I mean, but they've really, at least offensively, it hasn't looked as good lately. That's not to say that it's going to be an easy game for, in theory, if for the Pirates. But I'm just saying the Royals have, because I guess Visery sped run his games and has already played and kind of mentally might have checked out. Um, those games maybe aren't as impossible as they would have been, say when I caught him and I dropped like what? How many runs? I got 13 and he put like 42 on me. I suppose we should probably go to the next game so that we don't spend too much time on.
Yeah, I think we're good on time. But yeah, let's do that.
Oh, okay. Who do you want to talk about next?
Since we were talking about the Royals, let's start with the Royals and the Devil Rays.
So, a matchup of two AL Titans. Uh, but is there trouble in paradise with the Rays?
Definitely looks like it. They're kind of been struggling the past couple weeks, so they lost their last 2 games, and they play you next, and you've been doing really well. You're trending up, they're trending down. You could easily beat them next week.
Well, I definitely need that game. So they lost to the Cubs 21-6, and then they lost to the Royals in a really tough one by 1 run. Uh, in a game that was probably the Royals' worst game, even worse than their loss to the Rockies. So I'm looking at their scores, the teams they've beaten. I'm trying to think. Melo had them the first 3 weeks, right?
Yep, Mel had the first 3 weeks, and then Big Dog slash Jibbo took over.
So I mean, it's the rBBL. I mean, anything can happen. But yeah, it does seem like they've kind of slumped a little bit. But I say that, and they could very easily nuke me this week. So, but it's interesting because you know this. the dynamic of this if they had won. Just it's crazy how they would have won, they would have been 7-2. The Royals would have been 7-2 and they would have had the tiebreaker. Instead, now they're 6-3. I think the Cubs are 7-2. I don't think the sheet's been updated. And now, yeah, so now they're the first wild card, I believe.
Yep, the Cubs did win. Yeah, that would be the Rays fall into the first wild card spot, and then it would depend
I'm guessing it
on
would be
the rest of the results for this week to determine the second one.
yeah. So if I had to guess off record, because obviously not everybody's is updated, I'm thinking it's the Rangers right now that have wild card two, assuming the Royals forego the postseason.
It's the Rangers pending their result this week.
That's true. That's true.
That's one of the games that we are still waiting on the results for as of right now.
But they also, I think, they might have the bomb. No, they don't have the Bombers twice. That's the Rays and Cubs division. But yeah. So that loss for the Devil Rays is pretty tough because I mean, let's look at their schedule. I mean, I don't know if you want to call me a good team, but I mean, 4-5. I mean, let's say a mid team. You got the Angels. They do get the Bombers though, so that that's at least one win. Assuming, I mean, I assume they can beat the AI. They get the Orioles, which Mav. I mean, he's 5-4. I mean, I don't think that's an easy win, or that I don't think that's that could go any way. And when I say these things, I'm not trying to be just I'm just trying to kind of I guess be analytical. Trying to see they do get the Rockies at Tin Can Alley, which actually that might be, and I say a good matchup based on the team that the Devil Rays have. I think their bats could take advantage of that. And then they get the Cubs, which that's a tough matchup, you know. But it is at Cement Gardens. So again, that's another, I could see them potentially being able to use that field to their advantage. But none of these games that they have left outside of the Bombers are really easy, you know? And so that ain't that loss to the Royals is that much more difficult for their aspirations. Uh Possibly, I mean, you never I don't want to, but possibly even for the postseason because you don't really know with all these matchups.
Yeah, the Devil Rays are definitely going to have to at least win another two games, 3 games if they want to make the playoffs. And the Bombers are definitely one, so they're definitely going to be at 7 wins. They probably are going to need 2 more additional wins to be able to secure a playoff spot.
But if we look at their wins that they have had, they have tiebreakers over the Pirates. Well, I mean, the Pirates aren't eliminated, but you did say that you think that that might be a tough go for them to make the playoffs. They do have wins over the Rangers, who are a wild card team, I believe, at the moment, pending results. And I want to say did they play the Reds?
They did beat the Reds, yes. And that was with Mello in week 3.
That's another important tiebreaker there because they could make a run. Uh, the Reds and Rangers, those are big early wins, because those are some teams that could be vying for that for those wild card spots. Because personally, I kind of think the Cubs are now going for this division. I think they're the favorite.
Yeah, I think it's the Cubs division to lose for sure.
I think Emery, and it's fun, him speed running and whatnot, and he actually put up a more Emery game, against the Hornets. Typical of what we see from him. So yeah, I mean, I unless maybe Emery has some bad games down the road, I think the Rays are at this point are looking at trying to secure a wild card spot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Uh, Devil Rays have their work cut out for them if they want to make the playoffs and go on another run for, in Jibbo's case, the second consecutive season.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the team to do it. It just the performances have to they've got to get better and they've got to secure some wins here. But if anyone can do it, I mean, Jibbo's been in this league for many a seasons, and he's got experience. So if anybody can right the ship, I'm sure it's him.
Yep, and it'll definitely be one of the things we'll be looking forward to the rest of the season. Think we should move on to, since you talked about Emery, to the Cubs and the Hornets result, which, like you said, the Cubs put up 26 runs, I believe. So that was another offensive massacre by the Cubs.
That didn't get updated yet, right?
No, it's not updated yet.
Yeah, it was 20. It was a 20-point win or something close there.
Yeah, the Hornets had a interesting but low scoring game as the Hornets had a really good first inning, and then Ura decided to do some shenanigans to Slim when he was streaming. Ended up
That was very
ended
upsetting.
up crashing the game. Had to start over.
I think I made a joke in the chat that Yuria put a virus on Schlim's computer, or that he or something. I think I also said he made Schlim's computer cave in on itself.
Whatever it was, he definitely did something to mess it up, but that was funny.
Well, Schlim, uh, man, I don't even if he kept that game, I'm not sure he would have put up 20. I mean, so we can. I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to go off of what obviously did get accepted and counted. Um, you know, I I don't hate the Hornets roster. I don't know how they are where they are.
I think they have some really good top end talent. It's their mid and it's their like fifth through ninth rounders that are giving them some issues.
Because I don't hate that roster. I mean,
Because you got like the Fred Benson, you got Randy, you got some good players.
very least, I would think you could put up runs with this team.
I think maybe it's the lineup configuration having.
Yeah, because personally, I mean, like I'm trying to, I guess, come up with the words here, like, because I mean, I don't know if you noticed, I was just, I kind of, in a way, decided to use Mondesi, use a grounder ball strategy with him, and sometimes that, it might seem counterproductive given you have a batter that has power, but I think it's a good way sometimes to work around uh deficiencies in a lineup because now I'm getting Mondesi on base, and so when my big guns come in like Conseco, they have people to drive in. So I mean, maybe in this situation you kind of ground her with Julie or something, get her on base, and then maybe use a Rafael Hendricks or somebody like that to drive them in. Like, I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous or possibly, but you know that
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Hornets are definitely been struggling. Yeah, I don't think it's the best roster.
I also don't think it's the worst. I mean, but I know a lot.
Well, we know it's not the worst.
Well, but I also know.
That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, but I will say that I mean I think they probably should be putting up more runs,
Yeah,
but
I think they should have been putting up more runs, and I think that a little bit better knowledge of what kind of players to look for in the later rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what did me. Well, I don't want to say that because all of a sudden I'm starting to figure it out with BD and whatnot. But I definitely see how the late rounds are really what make I think a winning team because I think it's easy in the first say 3 rounds or the top half of the draft. I think it's a lot easier to make the easy pick when you need those 5 through when you get to the second half of the draft where it becomes either you're not getting complete players anymore. You're getting either a good bat or a good arm or just a speedster, a plain pure. You really got to make those pieces count.
You got to make sure that like they can do something productively on offense
Yeah,
or on defense.
and see, like right now, at first I kind of was like, well, I screwed up the second half of my draft, but now, I mean, Gary Allen's been arguably my best offensive player, and I got him in the 8th round. Christina Beattie's been pitching well, and she's starting to pick it up on offense. So all of a sudden, that's working for me.
Yeah, with Gary Allen, and Joella, yeah, the reason why they go a little bit later in the rBBL draft is because of the defense. They're kind of a liability, but like if you look at like the how like I think the online draft went, I think like Gary and Joella might have went in like the 7th round or maybe even the late 6th round.
Oh wow,
So it's offensively it shows kind of what the power can do with that.
yeah. But yeah. So Schlim, I mean, I think it also doesn't help that it's not a team he drafted.
Yeah, that's also harder when you're taking over for a team that you didn't construct yourself and you didn't.
And you can say the same for Jibbo too. I mean, not exactly a team he drafted, even though I did say it was a Jibbo team, and I still kind of feel like it is. You to kind of get, I guess, especially since they subbed, and both of them actually subbed and not immediately. So, I mean, to get thrust into a position to take over a team, I mean, I guess it that doesn't help matters either.
Yeah, that is true. It's always hard to take over a team mid-season. Yeah, I know. I did that for one of the first online season, and I didn't draft the team, and it was kind of a challenge to use them and to use them productively.
Yeah,
Even though I was able to make it work, it was pretty challenging.
yeah, I can see that. So who do we have next on the slate of teams we got to talk about?
Next is the game I played against JY. I had another solid game. As I said in the Discord, Steel Stadium is our happy place. So
I think it's everybody's happy place.
that might be true, but I know it's specifically mine. And
I will say though, Steel can be deceptive in the sense that it. I don't think it's a very nice place for line drive type hitters because center field there's basically none, and even the left and right fields aren't exactly deep. So it could be a really hard place for hitters like maybe a Tony Del Vecchio or like Ezra Travolta, Stephanie Morgan type players. Like it can be kind of difficult, I'd imagine, for them to be able to put the ball on the ground.
yeah, it's not doesn't have the same speed as like a Cement Gardens or a Tin Can Alley would either.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're kind of either going for power or I mean, if you got speedsters that can, hit a grounder and get on base. I mean, unless you can really get it into that left field, you know, but just in my personal experience in side seasons, and I don't remember much about my game against the Rangers, but it seems like I have trouble with line drives there.
I could definitely see that, especially if you have good defenders in right field and left field. that have solid speed and coordination and arm.
Yeah, but that's a big win for you. I mean, you get the tiebreaker, you own it right now against JY. Um, the next time you also get to play him at home, which I mean, your home field probably better. And
Actually, I don't.
oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't been putting up as many good scores at home as I have been on the road. So
Well, I will take
Ekman's
that when
been kind of
we
a
play.
challenge. So we'll see how it goes.
I'll take that when we play, hopefully. Uh, but yeah, that was a big win for you because you maintain your 2 game. Uh, yeah, I think it was still two. So you hold a 2 game advantage in the division, and you hold the tiebreaker right now over the next closest team. Obviously in the division, in that game, I'm like, can both of these teams lose? Like, is there a way? But
There's technically a tie
well,
now.
you
You
can
can
tie, but
tie. They just made that rule
you can,
change.
but that's not real.
Yeah.
But
Going into this game, I was telling myself this is a must-win game for us because it's at Steel. I have a very good roster for Steel. I don't know how I'm going to do against JY at Ekman when I'm at home. So I need this in the bag in case I lay a stinker in the last game of the season.
I think I played one of my better games at Steel actually against the Rangers, but lost that in a tiebreaker. So hopefully, I mean JY. I think did he put what was his best score this year? Do we know? Let me see. I'm curious
There's a
now.
22 against you,
So see, he put his best score against
but
me.
that was at your home field. Yeah, that was at
I know it was at
Parks.
Parks, but you would think that. I mean, isn't well Steel that's just the center field. Parks does have a really short left and right field, like probably about the same length, I'd guess, as center to Steel, maybe.
I think it's approximately like the same like left field as playground, but then like the right field is like the same thing, just mirrored.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Uh, so that's yeah, I don't know. That was one of my unlucky games where yeah, somebody just decided to have their best game of the season against me, but
Yeah, you never know what JY is gonna do. You know, one week he could put up 4 or 5, and the next time he scores 25. So who knows?
good point. I want to say, yeah, he literally put up 22 against me, and I want to say he put up 4 against the Royals, which is kind of interesting. So really, his game against me was kind of an anomaly in a way. Well, I don't want to say anomaly because I mean, but I'm looking at the 4. He had 4, 15 against which actually was pretty. That was a pretty good start to the season. A match of the week, 15-20. Did that. Oh man, he lost a close one to the Pirates, 11-10. But basically, it seems like more often than not he scores in teens. But for whatever reason, he decided to drop 22 on me. So, but yeah, that was a big win for you.
Must have been something in that cheats folder of his.
Maybe, but that was a big win for you and big for me too because now I'm tied with him. So
Yeah, that was a big game for Cheryl and Rachel.
yeah, so I mean, we'll have to
It was about time that Cheryl showed up to this season.
yeah, that's kind of interesting that you're doing better with Peggy than but Rachel and slash Peggy so well that
Yeah. Basically, anytime I don't hit a home run with Rachel, it's a disappointment.
yeah, anytime you have 100 batter and you don't do so well, it's kind of like disappointing.
Yeah.
But
I think we summed up
yeah,
that game pretty well.
but credit to JY because I think he start 0-4 or what? He started off pretty rough.
I think it was like 0-3, maybe.
he started off pretty rough, and he's managed to, he's still in the thick of it. I mean, so credit to him. That's a testament to,
I think it actually was 0
not
and
giving
4.
up.
Yeah, because he played the Cubs and then he played the Royals and then he
Yeesh.
played the Devil Rays and then he lost to the Pirates. So yeah, I think that was
Wow.
a really tough
So,
start to the season.
so he's won 4 out of his last
So
five.
yeah, he's done, has had a good stretch so far. And I think he's definitely going to win a lot more games.
Yeah, he's gonna be a tough out. So I mean, if I want to leapfrog him, I basically have to beat him, and I can't slip up. So
Yeah, a lot of interesting matchups.
yeah, I thought I would just point that out because I do remember he had a rough start, and it seems like he's very much positioned himself to make a possible run here, and it's definitely doable for him.
For sure, for sure. I think that is going to sum up the 6 games in the American League. Unless you had some more points you want to talk about your game.
No, not really. I mean, just that I'm proud of my squad. And again, I stress great, good game to Question Monkey. I think have we talked about every game this week for the AL? I feel like oh well, we can't talk about Rangers Rockies at the moment.
Yeah, but all the
Um,
other 5 games we did talk about.
I suppose we don't want to talk about Orioles Bombers because
I was going to talk about at least, Mavs side of it, but I couldn't find any stats for it, so sadly I can't say that McGuire hit 13 home runs or whatever, so.
well, we can just say that Mav took care of business,
Yep.
and he is also very much in position to make a run here. Would be nice to see playoff Mav.
Yeah, but that'll be for the first time ever that he's never made the playoffs, which is kind of surprising given how good of a player he is.
Poor Mav. That would be, if I missed the playoffs and I lost out to Mav, I may not even be upset.
Mav is kind of like the Mariners of the Major League, 20 years without making the playoffs and then they make the playoffs. So if Mav, it'll be kind of like that. So that'd be kind of cool to see.
I legit may not even be mad if Mav made it over me somehow. Like I you know, I just wouldn't. But yeah, I guess that covers the AL. I guess it's time to move on to the National League.
Yep, and this game, the first game, Yankees Cardinals just went final. The Cardinals put up a really solid score. I think they scored in the mid teens, like 15 to 19 runs, somewhere in there. And the Yankees did not have their best game. It was 6-3 was their score. But the big news about this game was that Chico Papas hit his 100th home run in the rBBL. So,
Round of applause, Pico.
yep, congrats to Chico on that accomplishment. I'm sure Chico wishes that wasn't a win for his team, but sometimes you gotta celebrate those individual accomplishments along the way.
Did not I said the Yankees were going to win that division, I think, right?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I guess we'll have to check the tape and look at it.
I think I want to say I did, and yeah. I mean, and again, not to be it's going to be hard. The Diamondbacks are going to have to collapse, and I mean, they do have some tough games. I mean, I'm trying to look here. They do play the Yankees again. They play the Athletics again. Play the Melonheads again, who, although they have a losing record, I don't think they're as bad as their record says they are. And they do get the Fishes again, I think. Yeah, but that pick may not age well for me saying that the Yankees were going to win the Central. I think I said that.
I think I remember you saying that, but I'm not 100% sure. But Crazy did say that I don't know if it was 100% certainty or if it was partially a joke or not. But I think Crazy said that he's not going to stream any more of his games, and Crazy is known for struggling and putting up, low scoring games when he streams versus when he doesn't stream. So be interesting to see if Undercover Crazy just turns it around and goes 5-0 the rest of the season.
That would be quite something. But yeah, Wizard put up a good game. Probably one of the more higher, scoring NL games of the year for him. As we all know, the NL for whatever reason seems to be a more defensive oriented league.
The Cardinals are one of the teams that have put up decent offensive numbers.
Yeah, quality win for him. Keeps him, at up to pace with the Twins, who now appear to be the in the driver's seat at the moment with the wild card.
Yeah, it's 6-3 Twins winning. That, I guess that gives us a nice segue into the Twins and the Diamondbacks. Twins winning 24-12, doubling up the Diamondbacks. Huge win for the Twins.
Big win.
I did not think Twins had 24 runs in them. But that's, if Toast can figure out how to consistently score, 15 to, 25 runs, that's going to be a really tough out because Toast does have a really good roster.
Yeah, I think they proved that they can hang with almost anyone. I mean, looking at their roster right now, I'm not as familiar with the generics in 03 because of a lot of changes, but I do see Xenon, Robert Young, good pitcher, and Tom Glass, Sonja, Stan. Wow, they got Sonja and Stan. That's some solid defense right there. Tom Glass pitching. Yeah, it's definitely a good roster. I mean, and now with Uriah losing that game, I mean, albeit I don't think he got crushed, right? I don't remember the score of that one, but a good
And
bat.
then you have Nicky Winston, who has a good arm and has a good bat. You got the Ronnie clone and Isabel Morelli, and you got Claudia, which I believe is the
Oh
Griffey
wow.
clone in 03. So, yeah, definitely a really good roster.
Yeah, that is a pretty kind of crazy how they kind of flew under the radar for a while.
Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to figure out how your roster works. And, once you figure it out, you're just unstoppable sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very good win for them against a team that I think is also a very good team in the Diamondbacks. Did Let me see. I don't know if the score is up yet on here, but did they get this win on the road or they played it at home?
For which game?
Oh wow, they for the Twins, they actually beat the Diamondbacks at home.
Yes, that was at Diamondbacks at Scrappo.
Wow. Well, they do have another big game next week against the Monsters. It'll be interesting to see if they can put up runs on Uria's team. If they get that win, all of a sudden the one seed is possibly in play.
Yeah, that is very true. The Twins actually lost to the AI their first time, but this game is going to be at Steel, so it's just going to be better for their power hitters. So be really interesting to see if the Twins can hit some home runs and possibly pull off the upset against the Monsters, who, they have a really good defense, but their kind of ceiling for offensive output is not as high as the Twins. So the Twins can put up some home runs, that, be a good sign for them.
If they win, yeah, they win that game, all of a sudden, the Monsters still got to play, I believe, the Melonheads again, which who knows? Maybe Oops came up just short last time. Maybe he gets it this time. They also play, see, they do play the Wombats. I don't think that's necessarily, I mean, you just never know. I mean, I know when I tried to suggest that the Wombats could make the playoffs, you kind of were like trying to be mean to Marco. But they do. Oh, do they have a game again? Oh, okay, I thought I saw that they had a game against the Cardinals. Oh, they do. Wow, that is that's big. They play the Cardinals, albeit at home, the last week of the season.
Yeah, week 12, Monsters Yankees is going to be a big game.
Wait, week 12. Yeah, that could be a big game too. That may not necessarily be a win for Uriah too. Uriah's kind of got his work cut out for him. It's not as cut and dry as it seems. I think I don't want to say exposed, but I think what Arco was able to do, and this might be a good segue in uh in his victory, was that basically you just kind of have to, hope that you don't allow Uria's defense to work. Kind of just have to hit it over their heads.
And I don't know exactly, what kind of strategy or what kind of stats happened in that game yet, but that's something that maybe Arco doesn't want everyone knowing, giving his secrets away.
I mean, that's what I thought. I don't want to say it's what I'm sure I'm not the only, but I mean, didn't he stream it? So like, wouldn't
I don't know if he streamed it. I just know I didn't see it.
well, I don't. Well, maybe you want to cut this out if you don't want his secret
I
out,
don't care.
or I don't even know if it's really a
I
secret.
don't even know what it is.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to sink Arco or anything, but I would imagine that I mean, he does have Babe. I mean, I'd imagine that.
I know. I remember. I did watch the Monsters game, and AI Babe hit a home run. So,
Yeah, I think the best way to attack the monsters is the long ball. Personally,
is the antidote to the monsters his Babe Ruth. So
but that or basically any power hitter. I mean, their defense is just so solid. Like they do not drop anything. I mean, it's OP with A Rod and Jeter that boost. Let me see. I got them pulled up here. I mean, you got Davy Marion. You got arms everywhere. Solid first baseman and Ricky. Good enough pitcher and Lisa Crockett. I mean, Brett Olson at second is not the worst option. You know, got an arm, a very good defensive roster. So I mean, and it's perfect really for the field they play at. You're not going to give up many home runs there. I mean, unless you can get it into the dumpster or over the center field, or if you get it into the gap. But they've got Davy Marion covering the gap, and they've got A Rod and Jeter also on that side of the field. So, I mean, they probably defend the gap very well. So, yeah. But I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. How did we end up
I
here?
think you were saying about how to beat the monsters.
Oh, yeah, how to beat the monsters. Yeah, I mean, we segued, I guess, into
Yeah,
monsters
the Martin. Yeah, the Athletics.
and Arco. Monsters and A's. Yeah, great win by Arco, a rookie, a signature win for him. You know, beating one of the best teams in the league. Uh, and he's very much got a chance to make the playoffs. And I think we forgot to mention Pepsi's Diamondbacks more in the last game. So I don't know if you want to circle back later, but I was just remembering that.
You think we'll touch more on that when we preview next week's game?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I just don't want to leave anybody out, or I want to try to include everyone.
Yeah, we'll get to everyone eventually. So,
Yeah,
but I think if you have a good game, we're going to talk about the team that had a good game more than the team that had a bad game.
mm, good point.
Arco had a good game. Might be a rookie, but he's not a rookie. Also, is one of the people that are playing in the online league, so has 2 seasons of experience in that league. So even though it's a little bit different, not a rookie that has no experience. It's kind of like those Japanese players that come over to the major leagues.
That's a great analogy.
So, they don't have any experience in the major leagues, but they have all that experience, in their original league that they're playing in. So it's kind of the similar concept. So not surprised at all to see the Athletics do well. And now they just moved over 500 of a 5-4 record.
A game that many would have probably thought they could have lost. 5-4 and 4-5 is a big difference when you're trying to make the playoffs. So
Yeah, for sure. I did remember when I was watching the Monsters game is that Jimmy Rollins in left field was giving Ura a lot of trouble, which, I mean, he's a good defender, but I wasn't expecting him to be like Goldie Glove or anything like that. In this game, he was definitely Goldie Glove candidate worthy.
Good observation. Who do we got next?
Melonheads and Fishes. This was a defensive battle. Both teams only scoring a handful of runs. Melonheads had a +2, I believe, and the Fishes had a +8. Both teams are more defensively focused, so it's sometimes a little bit hard to score runs, and this game is no exception. I know the Oops has been a little frustrated by his inconsistency in scoring runs, but with the kind of roster that he has, you kind of need Fabian and I think Lindsay to hit home runs, and when they're not doing it, it's kind of a struggle sometimes. You can't get those speedsters on base.
Random, but I think Oops is gonna win a title someday.
I would love to see that happen.
I think he'll win someday. I feel, he had a rough start, a lot of close games.
He almost won it last season. He had a really good run.
I mean, had he managed to get out of that first round, might have done some damage.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting seeing the Bombers against the Melonheads last season. That would have been an interesting World Series.
That would have been a very, very interesting matchup. But yeah, Oops just has had a rough start, or did have a rough start, and has kind of had trouble getting back on his feet. Making the playoffs seems like it might be at the very least a tall task. But I mean, I do think that he could make some interesting. He could make some games interesting for sure. But yeah, tough loss for him. And Chris manages to keep himself alive, I assume, in the wild card race. Even though the Twins winning theirs makes things a lot more difficult, winning their game, Chris, keeps himself alive.
Yeah, second half Chris is a thing, so it'll be interesting to see if that kind of trend continues. Got the Wombats next for the Fishes. That is a winnable game on the road for the Fishes, but if they struggle to score runs, that could go either way. And then you got the Diamondbacks, the Athletics, the Yankees. So a lot of close games, but it's going to be an uphill battle for the Fish.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like you said, Chris does better in the second half. I'm new to that lore. I've never heard second half Chris. I know of Consolation Shrews. I know of Playoff Frank. That's a new one to me. So it'll be interesting to see if he puts it together.
Definitely a storyline to look forward to the remainder of the season. Moving on to the next game, the Wombats and the Marlins. The Wombats putting up a solid score, one of their best scores of the season of 9 runs, but sometimes the rBBL has no mercy, and the other team just puts up more runs than you, and you can do nothing about it. And in this case, that was what was happening, and the Marlins put up another solid score. Consolation Shrews is in consolation form, scoring 14 runs and getting the win. I don't know much about what happened this game, but I'm going to say that Peggy hit 14 home runs and call it there.
So the Marlins have, I guess, an outside shot. They've managed to stick. I guess my rule of thumb is sort of 8-6 is like probably the outer limit of making the playoffs. That's what I assume. Although I have seen in past history some 6-8 teams have made it, but I don't know the circumstances behind that, if there was dropouts or what.
You would need a really bad division for that to happen.
Yeah, or something along those lines. But technically, I would guess that the Marlins are still alive, and it looks like we got a result also, so we could talk about the Giants
Oh,
game.
breaking news live on the podcast. Sponsored by no one.
So it looks like the Giants get another win.
let's see what the score was.
I think it was 18. No, well, I think that's a 15-1.
Yep, the Giants take it 15-1. Giants putting up another solid offensive output at their home stadium of the Paveway. Giants made all those preseason post-draft trades to try to accommodate for the cement field, and it definitely has paid off for the games that he has played at home. And this game was no exception. The Brewers game was pretty painful to experience, and especially for, I feel bad for Silver,
Poor Silver, man.
but it's kind of fitting with the how the MLB Brewers season went. They really struggled to score runs as well. So I don't know if he's just doing a really, really good cosplay as the Milwaukee Brewers. So that could possibly be what's going on.
I feel for Silver, man.
I do. Yeah, I feel bad for him, but he has improved a lot. When he first started, he was losing a lot of games to the AI. I know part of that was the scum build that got fixed, thankfully.
True.
He has made improvements, and they've been pretty drastic. I know some games are, a struggle more than others, but the good news is that he is consistently beating the AI or the computer, and that was not something that he was doing in his first couple of seasons in the league. So it is progress, just more practicing and figuring out kind of what kind of players work for you and what kind of stances and power line drive grounder kind of hits want to have for each player, and kind of what fields you like better and all that stuff. I think the next kind of next season or two, definitely be putting up some of the decent scores, or possibly even making the playoffs at some point.
Yeah.
Progress is not the same for everyone, so.
Baby steps. I mean,
But he definitely is in first place when it comes to Taco Bell.
what's the story behind that?
I think he just really likes Taco Bell. I don't really know what much more about it. That's definitely something you gotta ask him in a rBBL talk or something. But I just know he loves Taco Bell.
Yeah. But yeah, big win for the Giants. I think that puts them at 6-3. So have they played the Diamondbacks?
They have not.
Whoa.
That is actually next week's game, so that would be a good segue if you want to jump into the previewing of next week's games.
Have we covered basically everybody we need to?
Yep, that was the last game for week 9.
We went over the Wombats?
Yeah, that was the Wombats and the Marlins.
Oh yeah, because yeah, okay, I talked about. Okay.
This is going to be a really good game.
Trying to look at something here on the chart. But yeah, so Diamondbacks and Giants, that is going to be where?
That is going to be at Paveway at Giants home field.
Interesting. Kind of funny how these two teams basically traded half each other's teams to each other, if that makes sense. That sounded funny coming out. And they're both six and
But
three.
it's exactly what happened.
And they are both 6-3.
Which is even crazier to think about.
So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game. A very very interesting game. And this will basically, albeit it's not the last game of the season, the winner in that game is going to is basically fighting, I think, for the 2 seed at the moment.
I do think this is more of an important game for Pepsi than it is for Titanium, given the state of the divisions that both of them are in.
Good point. Very good point.
The Giants have more of a lead, so even they can lose a game and still be pretty comfortably in
Yeah.
first place. The Diamondbacks lose, they could possibly be into a tie with the Athletics.
Yeah. It's a very it's a must-win game for
and the Athletics have the tiebreaker over the Diamondbacks. So this is a pretty much a must-win game for Pepsi and the Diamondbacks.
I want to say he told me he played it already.
Interesting.
So I think we're just waiting on the Giants. I think he played his game. So that'll be yeah, that's going to be a very good game. That's essentially for the 2 seed, and if second half Chris becomes a thing, he could make a run. The Athletics can't even count out the Yankees. That division could be very well, you know, still be in
That
play,
division
depending on the.
is
It's definitely in play, actually.
one of the most competitive divisions that we have out of the six.
Yeah, I would say the only other close one is maybe ours.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, I was gonna say maybe the West, but I think the Royals are probably gonna win that division. I think that the Rangers and Orioles are more fighting for a wild card. Like in the East, the AL East. Well, I think the AL East and the NL Central, it's more conceivable that any of those teams could win their divisions. And I mean, even the Pirates, I suppose, could win the AL East in theory. So, but yeah, that's definitely going to be a game that we need to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, for sure. Given that this game is at Paveway, I do think the Giants take this game. I think this game is both teams are pretty well, even. I mean, obviously their records are the same too, but if this game was a home game for Pepsi, I think that Pepsi would win it. But since this is at Paveway and they made all those trades more so to kind of fit with their home stadiums, given that there's not going to be as many home runs hit at Paveway as there would be Scrappo, I think the Giants do take this game, and the Giants have better defense because of those trades. So if I had to pick right now, I would pick the Giants to win this one.
I would agree with you. I think that's a good, a safe pick. I wouldn't be at all surprised though if the Diamondbacks won, but I think in a situation like that and with everything you described, I think picking the Giants definitely seems like a sensible choice.
And the next game is the Marlins and the Athletics. Athletics are at home in this one. Both teams are coming off big wins, so this will be an interesting matchup. What do you think is going to happen in this one?
Where do the Athletics play at?
Playground.
I gotta see the Marlins schedule. I mean the Marlins team as a whole. Hmm.
All I know is that they have Peggy and that I think they have Stewart. That's the only thing I know about them. Oh, they have Clanky as well.
Hmm. I I don't know that they have enough power to take advantage of playground. I mean, it is playground commons, right?
Yep.
I mean, albeit if you get it over the left field fence, you don't necessarily need 100 rated power hitters to. It all probably just depends on how the Marlins, how what kind of hitting day Shrews has. But I think I personally will pick the Athletics. I think they got a big win against Iria, and I don't think they're going to. I think Arco, if you saw his meme, I think he's chasing Pepsi, and I think he'll look at the schedule and realize that Pepsi has a possible loss coming and want to take advantage. I'm gonna say the Athletics are gonna win this one.
Yeah, I think that the Athletics are going to take this one as well. I think they have a good momentum going into this one. And I think that the Athletics have more power bats than the Marlins, even though the Marlins have a really good roster. 'Cause they got Bonds and Chipper and Peggy,
It's definitely not a bad roster.
but they have definitely a lot of kind of line drive ish hitters.
Yeah, and it's if they can pull those over the left field fence, that's anything can happen. But I think the Athletics definitely have more bona fide. They probably have some more bona fide hitters, but let me confirm that. I'd rather they have Babe Ruth, obviously. Um, I believe Piazza's a pretty good hitter. Who is Wendy
Wendy
Parsons?
Parsons is this is '03, so Wendy Parsons would be Alex Rodriguez clone.
You know, looking at this roster now, they don't necessarily have a lot of power other than Babe and maybe Vlad. I'm trying to remember who Raquel Cullen is, and then I'm trying to remember.
That is Phil Nevin,
You
I
know,
believe.
they really don't have that much power.
I might be wrong on that. Wait, Raquel Cullen is the Tony is Raquel Cohen is a Tony Gwynn clone in '01, and I think that's Padres. So yeah, I think that's Phil Nevin.
They got Rollins, Dahlman, I believe, is Beltran.
Yeah,
You know, they really don't have that much power.
they do have a really good defense though, and given that if the Marlins are not hitting over the fence,
I'll stick with the pick. I'll keep athletics. I mean, they do have Babe, and I think Babe will put it over the fence. So I think he'll be able to. How has Babe been hitting this year?
I think pretty good. The one thing I did just notice the last 3 weeks, the Marlins have scored 12 runs, 13 runs, and 14 runs. So the Marlins put up 15 runs. I think they might win.
Maybe. I mean, that could be. This could be an upset game. I mean, I'm looking at the roster now, and I don't feel as comfortable about my pick as I did before. But I think I'm going to go with the Athletics just because I think Arco will be focused on taking advantage possibly of a possible Pepsi loss, and at the very least, just keeping the momentum and staying a game back.
Yeah, so it looks like we both got the Athletics winning that game. So the next game we have is the Fishes and the Wombats. Both teams are kind of underperforming as they would like to have been. So it'd be interesting to see which of these two teams can pull this off. This game is at Steel with the Wombats home. I know we talked about kind of gave our kind of overview of the Wombats roster last time you were on here. So this will be really interesting to see how the Fishes will do.
It's funny. I remember. I think I saw Marco saying that he hated Susan Gore or something like that.
Just kind of funny because Susan Gore's a really good player.
He was like, he's like, why did you draft it or for defense or something like that? And it was a very comical exchange he had with somebody. I don't remember, but yeah. So wombats and fishes. I'm gonna go. You know, Marco's been struggling on offense, and I don't know that he's gonna get it together against a good defensive team. I believe Visery said that the AI Fishes defense seems pretty solid. I think second, I'm gonna go with second half Chris and say that he's gonna get himself back to 500.
Yeah, I think the Fish take this one. I think the Wombats are going to struggle against the Fish's defense, given that other coaches have also struggled against that, and the Wombats have been struggling to score, given that good defense and someone that's struggling to score against other teams that have worse defense, I think is not a good recipe for success for the Wombats.
Yeah. Who would be next? Is that all the A? No, that's not all the AL, right? Or I mean the NL.
That's half the NL. I got 3 more games in the NL.
Oh wow. Okay.
So next up is the Brewers and the Yankees. This will be really interesting because I think if we take what Crazy has said about not streaming, then this could be a big game for the Yankees and Chico. This will be at Dubois Diamond or Du Bois Diamond.
Yeah, I agree. You've got a good point. Silver is improving, but if Crazy is really gonna not stream, and I'm sure he's competitive. I think he's probably not gonna stream, or at the very least, I think he does this possibly anyways. He may just record the game and then stream it later.
That's probably what he'll end up doing, and he's done that quite a bit in the past.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with crazy. I think he's gonna bounce back. Hopefully for his sake, he can bounce back and stay in the hunt. I think I'm going with the Yankees.
Yeah, I think the Yankees are going to take this one, but it'll be really interesting to see if Silver can pull off the upset, because that would be one of the bigger upsets of the season if that actually happened.
It definitely would be, and I mean Silver's getting better. You never know.
If the if it turns out that streaming wasn't the cause of the Yankees' struggles this season, then it is possible if the Yankees put up one of their lower scoring games, like they have the past couple weeks, that a two and a +2 and a +3. That's something that the Brewers could, or and Silver could definitely score.
Definitely, that's a good point. We'll have to wait and see.
So yep, and then I don't. This might be the match of the week. I'm not entirely certain about what was what or whatever. I think this might be the match of the week, and it is the Monsters and the Twins. This should be a really, really good game. I know we kind of briefly touched on it when we were going over the Twins' big win. Starting to go over the Monsters and the Twins. So, big game for the division for the NL West.
Yeah, that would be yeah, and I'm looking at the rBBL talk. Seems like that's the talk of the town right now.
Yeah, I kind of just intrigued or pushed the conversation based on what we were kind of talking about. And I think the Twins take this. The Twins have, had a really solid game. They have good momentum. They have more offensive scoring potential. And I think with their roster, they're going to be able to score, more runs than the Monsters will be. And at Steel Stadium, the defense will be somewhat diminished based on because you can't have any defenders swimming in the pool in left field.
And where is this game at again? Steel?
Steel. Yep.
Oh boy. Remember what I did say about line drive hitters at Steel?
Yep.
The Monsters have a lot of line drive hitters. They do have some power bats. I mean, Davy Marion, you could probably go power. Frankie, you go power. But they do have a lot of line drive hitters. And with a defense like Toast, if he puts up a good offensive performance, that could really be something to watch. But, geez, this is hard because they do have Xenon. Robert Young's no slouch hitting power. Nicky Winston's no slouch. This is going to be a very intriguing game. But I may regret this, but I'm barely going to go with the Monsters. I think Iria realizes what's at stake here. I think he tries to shut the door on anybody getting that one seed other than him. I'm gonna roll with Yuria in a very, very, very close game.
I think I'm going to go with the Twins. This might be my upset pick of the week for the prediction challenge. I'm not entirely certain. I'll have to see kind of what other predictions I make for the rest of the other games. But I do think that the Twins at Steel are going to be able to put up some runs with their power bats, especially Xenon and Stan and Sanya. So I think the Twins take this one at home. They need this game. Yeah, I think the Twins are going to take this one in an upset.
I mean, I don't blame you. My gut tells me that to take the Twins. I don't know. I'm just rolling with the Monsters. I think Yuria is gonna have a sense of urgency in this game that maybe he wouldn't have had he won last week.
Yeah, that's true. You always want to get back in the win column as soon as you can. So I definitely can't see the Monsters winning this game, but it's one of those games you just gotta wait and see what happens.
Definitely something to watch.
So the last game in the National League that we got is the Cardinals and the Melonheads, and this game will be a home game for the Melonheads at Parks. Melonheads have been playing better at home than on the road. Cardinals have been putting up some good offensive numbers, though. I think possibly the Cardinals hit more home runs at Parks, but this could be a game where the Melonheads exploit the Cardinals' defense and do kind of the line drive grounder ball kind of offense and, put up a bunch of runs that way. So I think this could be a offensive shootout with both teams scoring possibly 15 to 20 runs.
You got a point. I have a tough time here with this one. The Wizards are, you know, beat the Yankees, so they're 5-4. They're only a game back of the Twins. The Melonheads, this has not been a great year for them. It just seems like more things have gone wrong for them than not. I think it's going to be a close game either way, but I'm going to go ahead and go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, as much as I think that I would want to see Oops win just for his morale and everything, I think the Cardinals do take this one as well. But this is one of the hardest ones to pick for me because I could see the Mountainheads exploiting like the Jerry at first base kind of thing, like we saw in Week 8 match of the week. So it'd be really interesting to see if that kind of scenario happens again.
Yeah, and there is a chance if the Cardinals win, maybe the Twins lose and they're tied.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's a good point.
So, I mean, there is that possibility.
So I think we both got the Cardinals winning that game, and I think with that sums up the National League games for this week. Moving on to the American League games, we got the Rockies and the Pirates. Saw the Pirates play in the match of the week this week. Do you think they continue kind of the offensive output that they've been putting up and beat the Rockies, or do you think the Rockies take this one?
I'm going to go ahead and pick the Pirates. For better or worse, they've been consistent. The Pirates, they've kind of been scoring around the same. And I'm going to say that will be enough to take the Rockies. I might have picked the Rockies had this been at Tin Can Alley, but yeah, I think I'm trying to look at really the only other time they've scored that had a high score was against the Bombers and against Visery and the Royals at Tin Can. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Pirates are gonna win this one.
I think the Pirates take this one. I think Pablo just goes on a tear. He's gonna hit 3 home runs and have like 8 RBIs or something, and the Pirates are gonna take this one. Pablo needs to have a good game, and I think this is the game that he does it. Next game is the Reds at the Bombers. I think I'm gonna go out a limb and pick JY to win this game.
Yeah. And it comes at a good time for JY. Brings him back to 500. Kind of can dust himself off. After a loss today well not today I don't think just whenever you played. Kind of right the ship again and maybe get into some momentum for the last 4 games of the year. Pretty good time to have a Bombers game for him.
Yeah, definitely is whenever you play the Bombers, it's definitely a get right game or easy win type of game. So it is at Sandy, so it might be a little bit low scoring, but I don't expect anything crazy to happen. I think the Reds are gonna have no problem with it whatsoever. They should easily win that game. Moving on to the Cubs and the Braves. This is going to be an interesting game. I do think that the Cubs are going to take this one based on my struggles or definitely not as good outputs at Ekman as I have at other stadiums. So definitely be interesting to see, how it goes. I don't know, if the Cubs put up as many runs as they normally would be because, they did speed run all through their games, but, they put up 25, 26 runs last week. So who knows what happened with this game.
Yeah, I get you.
Definitely nervous about this one. I think this is most likely a loss unless I just hit a bunch of home runs.
It's definitely a big game because if you beat them, you both have 3 losses. So that could be for the 2 seed. Or, well, actually, since Visery is dropping, it would be for the top seed.
That is true. I did not realize this. So if I beat the Cubs, then I would be so this is basically a game for the 1 seed at this point.
This is a very big game. This is actually a very this is an important one. This is going to be something to keep our eyes on.
I was trying to go into this game thinking, uh, no pressure. I got over the difficult game this week, but now it's like, I could just go in and, relax and just, whatever happens, happens. But, considering that I possibly could have home field, even I don't even know I might not want home field.
It works for me because I could very much use a Braves loss.
Yeah, that is true.
But you know, I don't know that the Cubs are going to actually win this game, and I it just depends. I mean, I don't think Emery's mentally checked out. I think he just chose to play his games to front load. When is honestly the last time Emery's had like a single digit game
That's a good question.
where he hasn't managed to put up like plus 10? Because I mean, I have a hard time because a part of me wants to pick you, and then like I'm just thinking like, okay, when is honestly the last time the Cubs have put an absolute stinker up in terms of points? Because if you struggle, and let's say you put like 9, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, since you claim,
Yeah, I'm trying to just kind of look through the
I legitimately
through, and I don't think they've put up a game where they've scored less than 10 runs.
not this year at least.
I think the lowest I've seen was 14, 12.
Yeah, that was the lowest. So that's the way I see it is that's your floor. But the most you have scored at home, I think this year was like 16, right?
Yeah, and that was against the Pirates, I believe.
So I mean, not completely out of the realm. I want to be objective because yes, it would benefit me for if you lost, but I mean, I want to be honest here.
I think the Cubs take this one.
I'll say Cubs only because I think you say yourself that you struggle at home. If this was maybe at their stadium, maybe you'd have a better shot.
I think no matter what the stadium, I think both stadiums don't fit my roster well.
That's kind of a good point. You have a lot of power hitters, and you don't have a ton of speed. I don't think
No, speed is definitely my weakness.
you and I have kind of that similarity.
So I do think Ekman is better for me than would Cement Gardens, but it's really going to depend on, if I have a good game or if I have a bad game. If I have a bad game, I pretty much have no shot of winning. If I have a good game, I might win. So
I'm gonna say Cubs. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by any means. This could be a potential upset. I guess if you want to call it that, because I mean this is basically for the first seed, for the 1 seed.
it would be nice to get some revenge over him destroying me in the playoff last season.
Oh, that there's added motivation. I'm gonna pick the Cubs, but I'm not exactly like, oh, it's for sure happening. It's more well, I'd like to see it happen because then that helps me, but I'm just gonna pick them only because I really cannot. The Cubs just Emery just has a talent for scoring.
I think it's like 80% chance the Cubs win, 20% chance I win.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go with the defending champs. I think he wins. I think you're gonna put up more runs than you give yourself credit for, but I think I'll take the Cubs barely in a close one.
Well, now that you say all the stakes for this game, I think I'm gonna not stream this one.
Hey, man, your call. I mean, I the reason I don't upload is because it's kind of a pain, to upload to YouTube. In my opinion, I just rather stream it and get it over with. And it's kind of fun. It would be more fun if I could figure out how to commentate and not have no audio. But yeah, I just prefer streaming. I like it.
Yeah, to be determined. Next game we got is your game against the Devil Rays. So do you think you pull off the upset in this one?
I so I've been practicing in and not against like obviously not 1-to-1 rock because that's obviously not, we can't do that. But I have been practicing against just teams like in a separate like file. with my squad, and I feel like I'm really mastering. I'm coming into my own with this roster, at least offensively. My AI defense, I kind of wish I would have set it up a little bit differently. And I think if I don't make the playoffs, that's probably going to be a big reason why. More my AI. I very much think I can win this game. I really, really do. I was talking with Emery, and I think that even the best defensive players with the best defensive talent and instincts struggle at dirt yards just because the ball with grounders is so unpredictable. I think Ace probably built the best team you can have for that field because he's got a knack for drafting teams that way. Jibbo has been slipping up. I have won my last two in a row. I'm not very neutral on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and say the Devil Rays win so that I don't jinx myself. I'm going to say they.
I think that you're gonna win. The Devil Rays have, well, Jibbo said that he does not like his team playing at dirt yards. So I think that with your, improvement and new knack of being able to put up runs with this roster, I do think you're gonna take this one in an upset. And this might be my, now that I'm looking at the whole slate of teams, I think this might actually be my upset of the week.
Well, I certainly hope you're right because if that is the case, I would be 5-5, and I would have a very good tiebreaker in my pocket.
Yeah, that is true.
So I could use that because I don't have a tiebreaker against the Rangers. That was a tough loss, and I still got work to do against the rest of my division, you and the JY. So that would be a huge win. A loss basically all but guarantees I'm out of the playoffs. Every game left is essentially a playoff game, win or go home. So I've got to I've got to be I've got to put my best work out, and I plan to do that. Like I said, when I had that little spew, we're gonna give every team we play a run for their money. We're gonna give it our all and see what happens, and hopefully it's enough to take the Rays on. Jibbo's an experienced coach, so it should be fun.
Ironically, when I saw your spew in the Discord, I thought it was very Mello-esque. And considering that Mello was the Devil Rays coach for a few weeks this season, I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was kind of going for. I kind of love that Mello does that stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, shout out to Mello, our season 7 rBBL champion.
Hopefully he comes back for a season that's maybe in the summer or something.
I would love to see it. You know,
Even if it's just, if he doesn't go like all in, like dedicated to winning a title, I'd love to be able to, compete against him.
yeah, I never actually got to play him during that season because we were in separate divisions. So it'll be really fun to play against him. So hopefully at some point the schedules can, work out where it's not as hectic for him than he has time to be able to do it.
Oh, I just realized something. Do I change my name from Bad Luck Bobby, or should I just keep it Bad Luck Bobby? And should I keep my AVI or my profile picture as Blue Bat?
I think you should just. It worked last week. I think you got to stick with it.
Should we just ride this all the way and hope and see? Yeah, I think we gotta. I think we're at a point where we gotta be superstitious. All right, I'll probably play my Rays game pretty early on. I've got some stuff I've got to take care of these next 2 days. We're on a Saturday night, so I know Jibbo's played this game already because I was watching him stream. I didn't watch the game. I noticed he was about to play me and left, so he's already taken care of his side. So I just gotta play mine, and hopefully it's a win.
Yep. And now the next game is going to be huge for the wild card spot or spots in the American League in this case. The Orioles and the Rangers. This game will be at Steel Stadium. Rangers having home field. T-Boz. Really interesting to see how this game goes. Orioles can put up some runs. They've scored a 50 against the Pirates, so especially at Steel that is a offensive field, can the Orioles put up another 20 plus point output again? The Rangers seem to have better games on the road, that they do at home. So I think the Orioles take this one.
I wouldn't know I lost to them. I wouldn't know I lost to them
I
at their
think
home.
that
So
was the Rangers' best game at home.
I'm telling you, bro. I just have I had for a while there things I was going through it. So, but I don't know. This is a
Yeah, think that was their best game at home. So I think because the Orioles, have a knack for, putting up some runs, I think the Orioles are going to take and Mav is going to take this one and gain the all important tiebreaker for the wild card spots.
you think this is the year of Mav?
This might be the year of Mav.
You know, I want Mav to I and just because, good guy Mav. This is a hard one for me to pick because I feel like the Rangers have kind of just been under the radar this year. I think they stunned people week one with when they upset, Mav, because everybody kind of figured, oh, Mav's gonna, it beat the Pirates. I'm trying to see who the Rangers have beaten. I don't see any
They beat the Orioles. They beat the well that was they beat you. They beat the Bombers.
beat the Pirates, I believe.
They beat the Hornets.
I think they beat the Pirates. Yeah, they did beat the Pirates. They have not put up a lot of runs though. Their best game was a 21-point game, and it was at Parks at Mav. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mixed it up. This is a tough one to pick because it really just depends what Mav we get. Mav is at wow. I'm just looking at some of these scores. You got an 8, you got a 1. I mean, man, that's hard to. I'm gonna go. This is just so tough. This is the toughest one I think so far. I'm actually gonna say Boz is gonna win this one. Has T-Boz made the playoffs yet?
I think T-Boz made the playoffs in season 6. I think it was his first season with like a 5-9 record or something.
I think he's gonna figure it out, and I think he's gonna. I think. Well, I don't know. You know what? I don't want to say he's gonna make the playoffs because I'm not sure, but I think he's gonna win this game. But you never know. I mean, again, this is a hard one for me to pick, but
I think this one is going to be what possibly might be the most kind of like 50-50 split in the prediction challenge.
well, this is a very consequential game too.
Yeah, so who has the, has that clutch gene in them?
But maybe Mav also. I think a lot of people, or people in the server may think, well, okay, Mav got his 5 wins, like that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So he really has nothing to lose. Huh. I'm just gonna stick with the Rangers, but I stress that I don't feel confident, or I don't feel like that's a lock.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone is going to lock this one except for possibly Mav or T-Boz just being super duper confident in themselves. But I don't think anybody else is going to lock this game.
Yeah. Well, I think
The last game is Royals and Hornets, and I think that the Royals are going to take this one. I don't know, obviously, because the scores haven't been as amazing as they have been, but I think, if the Royals put up, like 8 to 10 runs, that should be plenty enough to beat the Hornets.
yeah, I think Viscery should be able to do it. At this point, he's probably putting up a team. There may not be any 40s or anything like that, but based off what we've seen, I think this will be enough for this week.
And that's go is all the games for week 10. So there's a lot of games that are coming up that have, high importance as far as seeding or, who's going to make the playoffs or who's going to go into the consolation tournament.
Yes, sir. The Blue Angels are ready for that. It's definitely a win or go home at this point.
And excited to see how everything is going to go for the Blue Angels and for the other 22 teams in the rBBL this season. So I think with that, unless you want to go over anything else, I think that's going to do it for today.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I think that's everything. Best of luck to everybody, the rest of the way. May you put out your best efforts, your best games, and see what happens.
One last thing I just remembered. Do you have any thoughts on the MLB playoffs?
Yeah, as an Astros fan, I'm absolutely scared of the Mariners right now because they look like a Cinderella team.
I forgot that you're an Astros fan, so your team is still in the thick of it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely terrified of the Mar. I mean, I was terrified of the Blue Jays too because they've got a lot of star power, but the Mariners just made quick work of them. And that 8-1 comeback, man. I mean, that's something that motivates a team and makes them think that they can go up against anything. So, in a short series, 5 games, I think the division series are still 5 games.
I believe so, yeah.
That's not going to be an easy series, and I'm not looking forward to it.
So
But
is that who is it for sure the Astros are playing the Mariners?
yeah, it should be Mariners and Astros, and I believe it's Guardians and Yankees.
Oh, okay. Those will be interesting series for sure.
The Guardians have a chance, I think, too, against the Yankees. They didn't play that well, I don't think, the second half of the year, the Yankees.
It seemed like the Guardians are having a really tough time scoring because they only scored 3 runs in those 2 games.
That pitching, though, that pitching was wild.
Yeah, did you see the 15 inning game?
I didn't see it. I was following it.
Because that was crazy. I was watching it. I was like, I just wanted it's. I wanted to see like how far can it go. Like, and I was like looking up like what the longest like playoff game was, and I was like, okay, beat the record, beat the record.
I think it was the longest shutout in playoff history
Interesting.
in terms of 0-0, but I don't know. I can't confirm that.
That is definitely an interesting statistic. If that's actually a real thing.
I'm disappointed in the Cardinals, though.
Did the Cardinals end up losing today?
Well, I'm looking on the phone right now. It's 2-0, man on first, but Pujols is at bat. Does he have one more moment?
Yeah, so it is. Pujols singled to left, so runners at first and second with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th inning, down 2-0 to the Phillies right now with their season on the line. Looks like the Mets are gonna take this one and tie it up at 1 game apiece. So the NL games are still, you know,
Man,
anything up for grabs.
I think the Braves are destined to win the National League.
Well, they're the reigning champs, so just like Emery, you can't count them out.
Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
For sure. Personally, I want to see the Cardinals lose because I just don't like the Cardinals.
You're a Brewers
Yeah,
fan?
as a Brewers fan, I don't. I just don't like the Cardinals. But the one good thing about the Cardinals is Albert. Everyone else I don't like, but I like Albert. So if they end up coming back and winning, the whole thing, I I kind of will be happy for Albert, going out away, having a good final season and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I respect Pujols. I mean, he did many a years of damage to the Astros. A lot of it before, like I was probably too young, and admittedly, I'm not gonna lie. Like there was a time I didn't follow the Astros, but yeah. I mean, from what I can tell, he did a lot of damage to the Astros. So a part of me is but respect to the guy. I mean, 700. There's only been so many that have done that, and for sure he's a Hall of Famer. So
Yeah, there was a time that Pujols was my favorite player.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but it should be interesting to see how the rest of the playoffs shake out. Playoff baseball is one of my favorite times of the year, and let's just see what happens. I'm gonna guess Braves and Astros rematch, which I do and don't want because yeah, that we don't talk about last year. And I was hurt that I lost the first fall ball game to you, and you were the Braves. So it's like insult to injury. So it's like I can't escape. I can't escape it.
So you just gotta hope for the rematch this year and hope the Astros take it.
Yeah. Are you a fan at all, or you just always pick the Braves?
I actually what happened was that the Brewers were taken
Ah,
because I think Jibbo had the Brewers. So I was trying to think like what other team would I possibly want to play with? And then I just thought of the Braves because they were one of the teams that played in, used to play in the same kind of, city and everything. So I picked the Braves because they were available. So that's kind of my reasoning behind that. And that was in season 7.
I may in the future pick the Astros, the Giuseppes.
Yeah, I don't think that many people have taken the Astros.
I wonder why.
I think JBA took the Astros and renamed them, or some people think he renamed them.
Yeah, but I might pick them. I might, but I really liked the Blue Angels name. So
Yeah, that's a cool name.
hopefully I can break the curse of the Angels and bring us to the promised land.
Yeah, the Angels, I don't know what's going on. You have two of the top, 5 players in the major leagues and you can't make the playoffs.
That's rough, man.
So it's like,
Generational talents wasting.
yeah, I would love to see Otani and Trout though in the playoffs. That would be great.
Honestly, at this point, I would not even mind if Otani signed with like the Yankees or the Red Sox at this point if it meant him being able to be in the playoffs. Same with Trout.
Yeah, I would love to see them in the playoffs. That would just be amazing.
Players of those that caliber deserve to be in the playoffs.
But it just shows that it's a team game and you need more than a couple people.
Yeah, it's not like basketball, like where you could like have like prime LeBron at like 21 years old carry the Cavs all the way to the finals.
Yeah, you can't really do that in baseball too much.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if this is where the podcast cuts off or what you want to do or
And with that, that is going to end it for us. Thanks for coming on again, Bobby, and we'll see you next week with Emery, the reigning champ, as the guest for the podcast. So looking forward to that conversation with him, and I'll see you guys next time.